you, there is a canyon in Switzerland that starts in the middle of the city. No long drive to the mountains, no full day of hiking just to reach the trailhead. You step off a city bus, walk 3 minutes, and the city is gone. Rock walls, river, forest. That's it. So here is how we ended up here. On a sunny Saturday morning, we had no plan. Honestly, we decided over the breakfast. We have this long list of places in Switzerland we still want to see, and a lot of them are gorgeous. We didn't want to drive too far either, so we picked the Taubenlochschlucht near Biel or Biel in French, about 90 minutes from where we live. What we didn't know yet was that this trail breaks a rule I thought every gorge hike followed. It doesn't start somewhere remote. It doesn't start at the edge of the national park. It literally starts inside the town. And that surprise, only the first one of today. Before I take you inside, a few things I wish somebody had told us on the way there. So here is what you actually need to know. You cannot drive to the start of the trail. There is a parking area outside the city, but from there you still have about 2 kilometers to walk before the hike even begins. What we did instead, we parked at Biel train station. From the station, you take a local city bus for about 15 minutes and it drops you basically right at the trailhead. One warning, if you are planning this trip for a Sunday, check the bus schedule before you leave the house. Swiss public transport is excellent, but Sunday service runs less often and you don't want to find out the hard way that your connection only comes once an hour. And one more thing, the trail is free. No ticket, no entrance and no reservation. It's just open. The best places are often the ones that don't charge you anything to see them. Now let me take you inside the gorge itself. The name Taubenloch literally means dove's hole. The story is that rock doves used to nest in the overhangs along in the canyon walls, and people ended up naming the whole gorge after them. Honestly, once you are down there and you see how the rock curves inward in certain spots, you understand immediately why doves would pick this place to live. The canyon itself was carved by the Schüss river, which is called the Schüss on the French-speaking side of the country. This river cut down through the Jura limestone over tens of thousands of years. In some sections, the gorge is now more than 50 meters deep, and all of it was made by water. The trail you walk today is about 2 kilometers long one way. It runs from Biel in the south to a small village called Franvilliers in the north. And here's the part I love. The path has existed since 1890. The local Biel Tourism Association built it back in the 19th century, which means people have been walking through this gorge for more than 130 years. The same rock walls, the same waterfalls, generations of visitors have stood exactly where you stand. The trail is technically open year-round, but most people visit between April and October. After seeing in spring, I'm already planning to come back in the winter anyway. More on that at the end. Here's the park that honestly didn't make sense to me until I saw it. You don't need to walk 3 minutes from the starting point and you already don't feel like you are in the city anymore. There is zero transition. One moment concrete, road signs, bus stop. The next moment you are between huge rock walls and trees and the river is right there next to you. And from that point the river never leaves your side. The whole way in it is your companion. Everything is green, different kinds of plants hanging down from the rocks. Moss, ferns, little white flowers pushing through cracks in the stone. The river is sometimes quiet, sometimes much louder, depending on where you are standing. And the rock formations are just unreal. Thousands of years of water cutting through stone has shaped some of these walls into forms that looks almost sculpted. Smooth curves, sharp ridges, entire sections that looks like frozen waves. The trail itself is really easy to walk. It is mostly flat, well maintained, and you can do this in regular shoes without any problem. So if you are looking for something family friendly or something you easy can do, this is pretty much perfect. It is one of the more relaxed gorge hikes you can find in Switzerland, but it still delivers that wild, almost primal atmosphere. You get the payoff without the effort. That is a rare combination. For me, the most interesting parts of the whole hike are the narrowest sections, where the canyon walls squeeze together, the water speeds up, and you suddenly have these little waterfalls appearing out of nowhere. Some of these spots are so tight that two people cannot pass each other side by side. You have to step aside, let someone through, then keep going. At certain points, the path literally goes through tunnels, cut into the rock, or through natural caves that were later shaped into a walkway. You feel like you are walking through the gorge, not around it. And because the walls are so close together in these spots, barely any light makes it down to the trail. It stays dark and cool, even in the middle of summer, which is actually one of the best reasons to come here on a hot day. The water is ice cold, the rocks block the sun, and you feel like you just walked into a natural air conditioner. And when the sun does break through the gap above you, it's honestly cinematic. Beams of light hit the wet rocks and the river, and they bounce around like somebody aimed a reflector into the canyon. The contrast between those dark, narrow sections and the sudden bright light is something you don't want to miss if you are filming. Roughly halfway through the trail, the water is at strongest. Countless waterfalls, some just little trickles, some thundering down the rock face. I stopped so many times just to film because every few meters there was another shot I didn't want to leave behind. One thing that really surprised me was looking up and suddenly seeing the highway. At certain points, the A16 highway, which is also called the Transjournée, crossed directly over the gorge on those massive concrete bridges. It is strange, almost beautiful contrast, modern engineering against raw nature. You are standing in a place that looks like it hasn't changed in 10,000 years, and there are cars going 50 meters above your head. As we kept walking, we found more and more picturesque spots. The kind of place that feel almost too perfect to be real. Wild river, untouched forest, light cutting through the trees and impossible angles. Another detail I thought was really cool, because some sections of the gorge are so narrow that fish cannot physically fish through them. They actually built a separate channel for the fish, a parallel passage, so trout and other species can still move up and down the river. You would never notice if you were not looking for it, but it is there. The whole system has engineered so the wildlife can keep using the river the way they always have. The trail ends at a small place called Franvilliers. Before you walk into the village itself, there is a cafe right at the end of the trail. I would really recommend stopping here. They have some genuinely good cake, and after you have been walking and filming and stopping for an hour or two, sitting down with a coffee and something sweet is the perfect way to close the first half of the day. After our cake break, we walk back the same way we came, because it is not a loop, it's an out and back. And honestly, walking it in an opposite direction, almost like doing a completely different hike. The light hits different angles and you see details you miss on the way in. Taubenlochschlucht gave us exactly what we were looking for. A relaxed tour, deep in nature, very few people, and a trail that doesn't demand anything from you except the time to enjoy it. It's already on our list to come back in winter. When those waterfalls freeze, I can only imagine what this place looks like. Huge icicles hanging from the walls, the river still moving under a layer of ice. That is going to be a completely different video. And I think this is the bigger point. We don't need to drive across the country or fly somewhere far away to find something special. Sometimes 90 minutes from home there is a canyon hiding inside a city. You just have to actually go look for it. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. New video every Friday. In the meantime, drop a comment and let me know which hikes you did recently or which ones are on your list for this year. I'm signing off for today. See you soon. Peace.